Xanic, Guildmage, and Evil Twin, and a Wolfear Avenger. And then he's got all these different spells in his deck that you don't typically see in the standard format in Spell Rupture. Rapid Hybridization, Simic Charm. He's got 1 Trident, 3 Rancors, 2 Abrupt Decays. A bunch of cards that we're going to bring up on the screen for Jeremy Stowe. And on your left, you see Xavier Heron. He's just playing boring old Esper.
Yeah, boring Esper has a scarf on. I would guess that man was on Esper.
I like the scarf though.
Yeah,
I do. Because I love a good scarf myself.
I'm saying you might as well just be wearing Esper sleeves. You're gonna wear a scarf.
What if his scarf was black, white, and blue?
Yeah.
How awesome would that have been?
Yes. But Duskmantle Seer is a card that got a lot of hype when it came out. Obviously, Dark Confidant, tournament staple, pretty much every format, including Vintage. Seer's got, some similarities, some very important distinctions. So it was a card where a lot of people assumed that it would be in tournament decks. It hasn't really showed up yet, but maybe we finally found a home. Having to build a black-blue beatdown deck is a little bit rough historically. So that's the bottleneck on that card, basically showing up in tournament decks. But in this skeleton, certainly, it makes a lot of sense.
So we're going to see a mulligan here from Jeremy. Looks like Xavier is pretty happy with his 6s. He has 6 currently. Jeremy deciding on 6. So maybe a little mulligan to 5 land here, maybe a little bit less. I know that, as you brought Duskmantle Seer, it's a little bit scary for certain decks to play against. A deck like the Aristocrats, for example. I definitely turned over Blasphemous Act when I was playing against it.
Sure, pretty good.
Pretty embarrassing, as Jeremy did pitch a 6, he's going down to 5. Depends on what you're playing against, I think. But at the same time, it is always just going to be a 4/4 flyer for 4. So
yep.
Never really going to be too bad. I wish it was a little bit better, I think. But it's not, it's not bad or anything. It's just, I think maybe there's a little too much hype.
Oh, sure. You see 4/4 flyer with, like, Dark Confidant is an easy power to get excited about being symmetrical because you're like, I'm drawing cards and my opponent who's not capitalizing on this fact is taking a bunch of damage. But the sum of the parts is very hard to incorporate into a deck. You see a turn 1 experiment 1 from Jeremy.
Terminus had it.
Miracle's a Terminus.
Little 1-for-1. Glacial Fortress pass the turn back. So if you didn't know, there are Terminus here. There are 3 copies of that card. A card that I think we're going to start to see a little bit more play there in the Esper deck. You see Jeremy with the Breeding Pool and passing. The format's becoming a little bit more aggressive again. You've got your Experiment Jund type deck. You've got your Aristocrats type deck. Terminus is fantastic against the Aristocrats. Makes Cartel Aristocrat and Falkmouth Aristocrat a lot worse.
Yep. You see Xavier cycled Think Twice looking for the 3rd land and being unable to. So both players stumbling quite a bit with their draws.
Experiment 1 from Jeremy. You see an Augur Bolus is the card there. Xavier, there's another Think Twice in his hand, so he's going to cast this to start the turn. Let's see if he can find that 3rd land. He does in the form of Glacial Fortress, but still no black mana. Xavier draws a card. He draws a Hinterland Harbor. You see his hand right now. There's an Abrupt Decay over there. I can't tell if there's a Duskmantle Seer.
I believe there is Duskmantle Seer in his hand.
Well, never a better time than the present. Get that thing out there.
It's not getting any better than this.
Yeah. So Duskmantle Seer is coming on the screen. Experiment 1 is evolving into a 2/2. We'll bring the Seer up on the screen for you. It's got some good artwork. In case you haven't seen it for a while, that 4/4 flyer. Xavier does draw a card, and it is a Drowned Catacomb. So black mana online can come into play on tap 2 because of Hallowed Fountain. And there's your Seer for you guys.
So
Vampire Wizard, powerful.
I assume we're going to be seeing a Detention Sphere Supreme. I know he has Detention Sphere in hand. I would be very surprised to see Xavier allow a Confidant trigger to happen here.
Yeah, I don't think you let that thing hang around here any longer. And there's your Detention Sphere to take care of that. One thing we do know that Jeremy does have in his hand is an Abrupt Decay, however. So he can't take care of that Sphere. He's going to untap. He's going to draw a card. It is a Dragmangler. So this is actually a very good turn for him. So he can play a land, play a Dragmangler, evolve this, come across for 6, put Xavier down to 12, and then have Abrupt Decay at the ready for the Sphere.
Yep.
That's a heck of a turn. And there's a Terminus. Number 2. Whew. Bottoms up. Those would be a lot better. If that's Verdict.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's not even good. You're gonna see Think Twice get flashback here. Drowned Catacomb. All right,
here we go.
Sphere.
Confidant time.
Let's both take a look. I have a Breeding Pool. Ooh! All right.
I mean, that's not a bad one to see, but that's a lot of
What's
Spell Rupture.
Can't counter. Can't counter. I got excited too. It can't be counter clause. Tricked us.
Yeah, I was really. We really needed to see Terminus there. That would have put the full.
So Xavier draws a card. You guys see Spell Rush on the screen. Of course, Supreme Verdict can't be countered. Lame Wrath of God that can't be countered.
All right.
So Xavier's at 4. What is that? Is that an evil twin? What was that?
That
was an evil twin. Not so evil right now.
No.
So Xavier's going to draw a card. Jace Memory Adept is his draw for the turn. Jeremy almost stole this one on Mulligan to 5. If that gosh darn Terminus, the way that card can turn a game around.
Oh, he's still not.
He's
still not out of the woodwork.
Oh, it's not over.
No.
We're going straight to the mill strategy.
Straight to the nugget.
The important thing here is it's going to give Jeremy a lot of information about what this deck's doing. Because if you've never played against a bug aggro deck before, it looks very strange in the cards that it has in the deck. You never really see it. As there's another Dustmantle Seer.
And now we have Dustmantle Seer or Spell Rupture back up.
And he doesn't know about Spell Rupture. Yeah.
Could be really good.
I know the first time I played against this deck online, I was very confused with what was going on.
I have a feeling like I would get tricked by a lot of the cards in this deck.
Let me tell you, the first time you don't know the Rapid Hybridization's in their deck, you learn.
Yeah.
And then you have to play the guessing game of how many do they have in their deck and if you can attack or not. It's a very humbling experience, trust me.
Yeah, so he basically needs multiple spells here to be able to get out. He either needs another Supreme Verdict, which he can't. He doesn't have, I don't believe, doesn't have enough mana to Snapcaster it back. He needs 2 spells because the Spell Rupture covers Jeremy against 1 removal spell or 1 Azorius Charm.
So we're going to start with Jace. Moving on up, Milieu.
He really needs to find a 6th land here. If he can Snapcaster back his... you drew Halvan.
The tough thing here for him is Halvan's going to come play into tapped, too, is that if he casts a Snapcaster Mage, you just Spell Rupture that.
Yep.
Yeah, Spell Rupture Snapcaster Mage. There you go. That's what you got to do. Tight spot.
Tight spot.
Tight spot. And that's countered. So now what do you do? Augur Bolas? Leave up Azorius Charm? Yep. So there's your Augur Bolas. Take a 1. A 2. 3.
There's a Think Twice. I can't see if there's a second spell.
It is a Think Twice, a Supreme Verdict, and a Hollow Fountain. Yep, so Supreme Verdict is going to go to the grip. And now Xavier is trying to... he has an Azorius Charm, but he's trying to dodge the bullet here off of the Seer. Let's both take a look. It is a Storm of Innistrad. You did not fade, my friend. So Jeremy's still on a mulligan of 5.
Yep. Symmetrical Confidant. That's a matchup where that effect's very good.
Not so bad. Not so bad at all. Jeremy Stowe up a game here as we're going to take a look at the sideboard here for Xavier Heron. Excuse me. We see a Pithing Needle, Blind Obedience, Jace Memory Adept, Witchbane Orb, 2 Dissipates, 2 Negates, 3 Rocks Faith Menders, 1 Rest in Peace, 3 Purify the Grave. Patrick, I know this is going to surprise you. Nothing really stands out in the sideboard here against the old bug aggro deck.
No haymakers to be seen. On the other side, Jeremy actually has quite a bit of power to bring in. He can bring in Deathrite Shaman, Golgari Charm, and Negate, all of which are excellent, and cut some of the spot removal here, which is not at its best.
Yeah, I think you probably want to leave the Abrupt Decay in. Rancor is kind of scary, I guess. It's not bad.
I think Rancor is quite poor against most control decks. I think it's very good in most aggro mirrors because it's very good against when attacking and blocking is the order of the day. Rancor is very powerful in those kind of games. I think against decks like this, you're just opening yourself up to Azorius Charms and Tragic Slips and whatnot. Rancor, I would generally cut in these kind of matchups.
I mean, we could probably see the Tragic Slip go by. Evil Twin can probably bite the dust. I'm not really the biggest fan of Zamic Guildmage. It seems like a little ambitious to me, but I guess if it does go unanswered, it can provide a steady stream of card advantage. So
yeah,
not the worst thing in the world.
That's the other thing is most of his threats are actually quite good against control decks. It's hard to pinpoint any creature that's particularly bad.
And you bring up the threats that are in Jeremy's deck. You take a look at these guys. You take a look at the Dreadmangle, the Shrinker Root guys, the Experiment One, the Young Wolves in his deck. Also, Wolfer Avenger. These are all cards that line up very, very well against Supreme Verdict.
Oh, yeah, no, it's clear the creature base of this deck. It's no accident. I mean, it's very well set up for Supreme Verdict. He obviously can't add more counter spells to the deck to try to fight that card because it's uncounterable. So the threats he selected, all very robust.
And that's the thing now is that I think people who are building their aggro decks, deciding what creatures to main deck, how they want to build their sideboards. The card they worry about the most is beating Supreme Verdict. You don't want to get brutalized by that 3 or potential 4 for 1. And the cards in Jeremy's deck are evident of that. You see the cards in Naya Blitz, value making it cost more, Experimental One being able to generate Warlord's Charm in their sideboard, stuff like that. Where a card like Terminus is very, very appealing. And we saw Terminus in that game from Xavier just be awesome.
It was excellent.
Both of them.
Excellent. And a spell that, you know, if he times it correctly, he can also, or if he just gets lucky when it comes up, can be resolved even through a spell rupture because it's so efficient.
It's a little high variance, but when the variance is on your side, it's filthy.
Oh, it is. It is filthy.
Jeremy's deck is interesting. I think this is a deck, and you guys on Twitter can correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, I take a look at a ton of Magic results every week to make sure I'm current on the information. This deck that did well in WMCQ in Europe. I think it won one in Europe. I don't remember exactly which country, but that's where this deck kind of popped up a little bit. And I played against it online in my stream. Had no idea what was going on. Again, the rapid. Yeah. I felt the wrath of a rapid hybridization on a Strangerrootgeist. Humbling, humbling feeling. Trust me. I also messes up the combat math a lot for you as well. But I'm fairly sure that this is a deck that did well in a WMCQ in Europe. Fairly sure it won, and it's starting to surface a little bit here, slowly but surely. It's a very, very innovative deck.
Yeah.
I kind of like what it's doing. You know, obviously you don't know if the numbers are correct where they are in this current iteration, but the overall game plan seems to be a pretty good one of pretty tough threats, pretty durable threats, and some pretty good spells.
I would have to imagine this deck is behind something like Red-Green Beatdown. I would assume these threats are overall just less efficient in creature-on-creature type of matchups, but against a control deck, all of these threats are just awesome.
Yeah.
Regeneration or Undying or just kind of generally fancy. Good threats to have against control decks.
Scavenge on the Mangler for a little bit use later on.
I would not want to play against Red-Green, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I know that there are some people on the Twitter sphere asking for a deck tech. Can we get some more information about this deck? Well, Glenn Jones, while he does do nothing 90% of the time,
every so often,
that 10%, he does find something to do in the sideboard. And he already has done a deck tech with the other player who is 4-0 with this deck, Sam Cooperwitz. So probably after this round, we'll have a deck tech for you guys. So don't worry. Yeah. We got you. We have your best interest in mind. And, you know, sometimes Glenn does too.
Yeah.
So that's nice of Glenn, I think.
It's thoughtful.
When he's not, you know, working on his beard, it does really nice work. Our Twitter says it was won the Brazil WMCQ, so wrong continent. I apologize, but thank you guys at home for correcting me. I look at so many results, sometimes I do get them mixed up a little bit as I try to stay current on the information. So a Brazilian WMCQ is what it won. I like it. It's fresh, it's fun, it's interesting. Duskmantle Seer is a cool Magic card and maybe found a home. We are going to see both players are going to be underway here. Glacial Fortress to start here for Xavier. See a Breeding Pool is Jeremy's draw step. Let's see what he's going to follow up with. Maybe a turn 1 play, Overgrown Tomb into play untapped. It's about to get a little young. When you were young. Young Wolf. Quick, Patrick, what's it do?
I believe it's a 1/1 Undying
you are
creature for a green mana.
Oh!
Wow.
You never thought you'd see the day.
I mean, it's shown up here and there.
2 mana, Strangerrootgeist. Here come the beatdowns. I dare you to Supreme Verdict me.
Yeah, Supreme Verdict this.
In for 3 we go. Xavier's already down to 17. He's going to draw a card here. You see a Sorn in his hand.
Supreme Verdict this, or play Inaugural Bolas. Whichever. Either's fine.
That's what those Rancors and Abrupticators are for.
Sure.
You see a draw step there. Another Young Wolf in Jeremy's hand. Simic Charm as well hiding out. There's your Breeding Pool coming to play untapped. Is it time for a Zamek Guildmage?
Yep. And another Young Wolf.
Oh! Terminus is ready to show up.
Yeah.
You smell that? I smell Terminus coming real soon off the top. All right, here we're gonna start with an attack here. You guys do see Zamek Guildmage on the screen, limited All-Star, and maybe soon to be constructed staple. Xavier may be considering an Azorius Charm here. Isn't going to pull the trigger on it. So here comes... I think it's Young Wolf time?
Yeah.
Second Young Wolf. And just passes the turn back. Alright, Azorius Charm cycle. No Terminus yet.
Draws.
No terminus yet. It's the worst feeling to be an aggressive player and just hoping your opponent doesn't draw terminus. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel good at all.
They're less likely to draw it than not draw it, so I'm okay.
Good for you. I feel awful in this situation. It's awful.
Doesn't bother me. Someone's got to lose. You know?
All right, here is an Oblivion. It looked like Lingering Soul.
I think we have a Golgari Charm at the ready for that.
Yep, there's a Golgari Charm. There's also a Semi-Charm over there as well.
Bang. So we disenchant.
Get that out of here. I want to keep my beatdowns going. Dustmantle Seer in hand. Coming across for 4. Going to put Xavier down to 10.
We'll see any sort of follow-up here. I have to imagine that all of his creatures are so individually anemic here that all the creatures he has in hand are so individually anemic that's probably worth actually saving everything to have a follow-up post potential Wrath.
So you want him to play more guys or no?
I kind of feel like I would probably not play anything else here, but because to make the experiment one worth playing, you have to continue to play, right? I guess this shortens the clock from 3 turns to 2. Okay, we're just...
All right, so Deathrite Shaman's going to evolve back because it is a 1-2 into a 1-1. So now you see the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Deathrite Shaman can represent 2 more, so 8.
I guess the logic here...
a little bluff. No. A good bluff. Good bluff.
I guess the logic here from Jeremy's side, I guess that Jeremy's play is actually fine, I think. The logic being here, if Xavier spends his turn playing Supreme Verdict, he's in a ton of trouble.
Yes. Really punish him for casting it. Here's a Sorin Lord of Innistrad.
Okay.
Yeah, that is fine. That is a 4-mana 1-1.
What a deal.
Which is pretty embarrassing right now, but I've seen worse cards in this situation. That's for sure.
I mean, it sort of helps him set up a Wrath, I guess, because he can trade with the Young Wolf. I don't know.
Bet you didn't think you were going to say that this weekend.
Nope.
Trade with the Young Wolf.
And now we've drawn our 4th land, which is really good, as we have now Dustmantle Seer as insurance for any sort of sweeper.
Yep. That'll be your follow-up post terminus.
Yep.
Probably no reason to slap that down right now. You're in such a good spot right now. You probably don't need to change anything you're doing. Your board position's great. You can ignore that Sorin and just get in there to the life total a little bit. Yeah, it'll gain a point of life back, but I think you just keep on bashing on in.
Yep. Sending everything and then just death writing him seems about where I would go. Yeah.
Right. Comes to the same conclusion as you do. So here comes the 2 Young Wolves. Here comes the Strangleroot guys and the Experiment 1.
I'm not sure if these are attacking Sorin or not, but I would assume we're going after Xavier at this stage of the game.
And in Jeremy's hand right now, again, is that 4th land of Watergrave, a Dustmantle Seer, and a Zamek Guildmage. So just holding steady. Kind of interesting question here, Patrick, is which creature do you block with that vampire?
Probably Strangleroot Geist.
Okay. It makes it bigger,
yeah.
For the following turn. So it's kind of weird. So this means
it's all going at Sorin.
This is all going at Sorin. Now that's a bit of a surprise to me.
All right, so Sorin down.
So this is going to have Undying. Counter's going to come on.
4
1, 2. Yeah, is this going to Sorin here?
Yeah, this.
If it's going to Sorin, Sorin's dead. So we'll get confirmation on exactly where that attack is going.
Deathrite takes out the Azorius Charm and shoots for 2.
Yeah, well, it doesn't that attack was not at Sorin. So.
Okay.
So here's an Athaya Drown Yard, and here's a Supreme Verdict. So we're going to clear some of these things. Two Undying triggers are going to happen. Here comes your Vampire token, post Supreme Verdict. Young Wolves are going to come back because of Undying. It's just going to pass the turn back here. So we'll get our life totals updated to where they need to be and everything, as we see a Strangleroot Geist off the top here. Get this board state a little more cleared up for you guys at home.
I mean, blue-green Guildmage is pretty awesome here, too.
I've been to start with Strangleroot Geist and come across this way.
I guess he's contemplating a response.
Yeah, Devour Reflection response. Okay, so we're going to take care of the Young Wolf. Jeremy's going to gain 2 points of life. Now Strangleroot Geist is going to come in. He's going to attack him and keep ignoring Soren. You're going to see your Vampire token jump in front of something here. Going to jump in front of the Strangle Goose. So he's going to gain life. It's going to take 1 total. Strangleroot Geist is going to come back as a 3-2. You're going to follow up with a Zamek Guildmage and pass the turn back. So if you're Jeremy, you feel okay. I don't think you feel great.
I think Xavier's actually not far away from being able to take this game over.
Yeah. He's getting very, very close to turning the corner.
I mean, one sweeper here and it's over. Yep. Or not over, but
in a good spot. Yeah. You see an island come down. We know he has Sphinx Revelation in his hand, so he can rev for 4. He can make a Soren token, move it up to 6, and then rev for 4, putting his life total to a virtual 8, with the life gain from the Vampire token putting him to 9. As you're going to see a Revelation here on the main phase. 3 and 4. Azorius Charm, Devour Flesh. A couple mystery cards. You see an Obsidian in his hand as well. Soren can move up to 6. There's your Vampire token. Alright, gonna pass the turn back, draws a card. Dregmangler, how does that change things?
Yeah, I mean the biggest question in terms of how Jeremy wants to play this game is how much does he want to do blue-green Guildmage shenanigans and how much does he just want to cast the cards in his hand?
Yeah. The big problem for him now is that Soren's at 6 and threatening its ultimate.
Oh yeah, he kind of has to go after Soren this turn, I feel like.
I think he wanted to keep trying to ignore Soren as best he could, which was completely reasonable, but now you can't ignore it any longer.
Yeah.
And he's tried to sandbag that Dustmantle Seer for as long as he can in fear of Terminus, and that makes perfect sense as well.
You would want that, you want to sandbag that for as long as possible, because worst comes to worst, it gives you the best shot of pulling the game out after Xavier's kind of stabilized.
Yeah, there's certainly some, as you said, shenanigans to be had here with the Zanek Guildmage, pulling off the tokens, making the Young Wolves into 1/1s, which make it so that if he does Wrath or does cast a removal spell, they'll come back from Undying. So it's a fun interaction there with the Guildmage and Undying. The question is, does he have enough time to do all these things? As one Revelation has resolved, and you see that he's trying to turn that corner fully with all those cards in his hand, just dying to untap here.
I feel like it's really hard. Okay, we're going to add to the board, I guess.
So we're going to go with the Dregmangler.
And this, I guess, is just to get Soren off the table?
Yeah, it feels like it. You can really tell, too, this is not something he wanted to do this turn.
Nope.
So maybe it's like a little bit here at Soren. Maybe 2 guys go to Soren, 2 guys go to Xavier.
Sure.
Putting Soren down to 4 so he doesn't have to fully kill it.
Well, I feel if you're in with Jeremy's deck, he doesn't really have that much in the way of burn or ways to close the game out. I don't think he can split the difference. I think he needs to be either pushing everything at Xavier or actually getting Soren off the table this turn. Because as long as Soren's able to turn out a 1/1 lifelink for each turn, it just makes actually finishing off the job much harder as the game progresses. It means if Xavier finds a sweeper, the game is he's in a ton of trouble. So I think he needs to push for a direction and go to it.
All right, so Soren goes bye. Everyone was going that away. So you see the Vampire token still just sticking around. Let's see what Xavier can do now that he is untapped. He has 7 lands in play, the potential to play an 8th one, and we'd like to believe that he has a lot of things to do in his hand, but we have seen this happen with Esper before, resolving a Revelation for 4 or more and just not having anything to do with the cards drawn.
Yep. And Xavier's also in this weird spot where he kind of has to fire off all his removal on his turn, because if Jeremy gets on tap, he has blue-green Guildmage plus Undying creatures to shut off edicts and make spot removal more cumbersome. So ideally, the Esper player is always leaving up all their mana every turn and making you play into tricks. Xavier kind of has to be a little more proactive with how he uses some of his removal here.
Well, he's going to start his turn off with Obsidian Ghost Council. He's going to gain 2 life. He's going to drain 2 life out of Jeremy. Play a Godless Shrine, pass the turn back. That signifies to me, if I'm Jeremy, not a lot of action up there. Can probably pull the trigger finally on this Dustmantle here, depending on what I draw, which is a Snapcaster Mage.
Snapcaster Mage only targeting his graveyard is Golgari Charm.
And that actually, I think, got removed to Deathrite Shaman earlier.
No, I think that the Azorius Charm got.
The Azorius Charm? Okay.
Yeah, I think that Golgari Charm is still a target.
And just the way that his graveyard is lined up right now, you see the 4 creatures in the...
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It looks a little weird.
I think we got the Azorius Charm, though. I've seen the blue-green Guildmage have this problem in Limited, too. You just don't have enough mana to mess around with all this kind of stuff.
All right, well, here comes Strangleroot. Here comes Young Wolf.
And this attack is sort of a freebie because whichever one gets blocked by Obsidat, Jeremy can then just remove the counter from to draw a card and reset.
That's what's going to happen. You'll see the Zamek Guildmage activation, remove that counter, get himself a new card. If that does resolve.
So we're seeing a pause here from Xavier, maybe not fully aware of.
Yep. And
Zamek
taking a look.
A little look-see-loo.
Make sure we know what it does. Draw card's going to happen. Another Zamek Guildmage is the draw. Trying to work him over with a slow card advantage engine. Undying will happen. You see the Vampire get in front of that Young Wolf. So Strangleroot is back to being a 3-2. Fun interaction there.
Yeah, it's a sweet little wrinkle the deck has.
Azorius Charm to cycle. Xavier draws a card.
This is a weird thing for Jeremy playing the aggro deck. The biggest logjam right now is mana. He needs way more mana to do everything he needs to do.
He wants to get that party started, but he's stuck on 4 lands. You take a look at it. How many lands does he have in his deck? 4, 8, 12, 16, 23. So it's an aggro deck that doesn't have a ton of land, but it certainly has more than it's showing right now.
Yep.
It's kind of weird because, you know, in this situation, you would like to draw spells to turn this game around, but you'd also like to draw land so you can start activating the Zamek Guildmage and go crazy, as we're going to see a think twice here from Xavier. Draws into a Glacial Fortress. All right, so Jeremy's going to remove the token here. We're just going to remove a counter, draw a card. Strangleroot Geist to draw, then untap, going to draw. There's a Spell Rupture.
Not a bad draw.
Yeah, it depends how things line up, as you're going to see a Strangleroot Geist.
I assume we just send both of our Geists and then say go, would be my guess.
Keep doing this same song and dance.
Well, I don't think he wants to put the Young Wolf in there because then that just gets blocked and he has to tap, and then Jeremy has to tap out if he wants to remove the counter.
Yeah. How about everybody?
Oh.
What do you think about that? Restoration Angel.
Perhaps. I mean, it's a pretty ambitious attack. And the Spell Rupture does not cover it.
That it does not. It does have 3 mana at the ready. So here's Restoration Angel, threatening to blink an Obsidat Ghost counter. How an angel blinks Ghost, I'll never know. But
and now we lose like our Dreg Mangler and our Guildmage or something. This attack is going to be brick pretty badly if he doesn't have any trick to add to this.
Restoration Angel really just screws up all the math here.
Yep.
As it's going to do. So those are the blocks that you thought we would see. There's a Dreg Mangler getting blocked by Obsidat, and Zamek Guildmage being blocked by Restoration Angel. No fear of those 2 Strangleroot Geist and Young Wolf, so 6 damage will come across. The 2 more relevant threats are going to go bye-bye, and we'll see a follow-up Zamek Guildmage, but he's basically the same situation he was in last term, just without a Dreg Mangler.
Right.
So you're going to see a flashback think twice.
And we're gonna draw the whole time we still had Duskmantle Seer in our hand. It's just like, hasn't quite had the... At first, you know, felt like he was probably far enough ahead that he could leave it in reserves, and then slowly the game sort of crawled to this place where he can't actually spend his turn doing that.
Yeah. So we saw Augur Bolas reveal a Sphinx's Revelation.
And now you're kind of seeing Esper do what Esper does.
Yep. Grind it down, hit all the land drops, draw a couple extra cards. First mini revelation leads to a bigger revelation, which leads to the biggest revelation. And there's no coming back from that. And so they'll try to do some things in the meantime during those steps. here is that big revelation that he does not want to get spell ruptured at all. So I kind of like this on the main phase because his board is clogged up in such a way that what's the worst that can happen? I'm gaining a bunch of life and drawing cards.
Additionally, what he draws here gives him a lot of information about whether or not he wants to make any attacks. Which is another compelling reason to just hang back.
Woodland Cemetery, the draw for Jeremy this turn. This game is really falling out of his grasp very quickly now. Obsidian did a nice job of stabilizing. Restoration Angel really messed up combat, as that card is aching to do. And a second Sphinx of Revelation in this game is really allowing Xavier to put his foot on Jeremy's throat.
So we're going to just see Strangleroot guys get blocked here by Restoration Angel and Augur Bolas. They return.
You know, the interesting thing is, as those two Strangleroot guys are going to return, is that I'm sure in some matchups, this Zamek Guildmage removing counters interaction here with Strangleroot guys is certainly very good. Almost unbeatable. I don't think that this is one of them. I think there is a situation that exists where this is very good. You're going to see a Rock's Faithmender here now.
Ugh.
Yeah, that thing is big. And now Blind Obedience. Oh, baby. Triggers are going to get a little bit better now.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's a combo.
Yeah, Obsidian goes bye-bye.
I guess we're going to draw some cards here with our Guildmage first.
Yep, draw two. And the problem for Jeremy is that because he doesn't have some insane card to draw to as he draws a Watergrave. He doesn't have something that really turns his game around.
Yep. And I was going to comment on this. You sort of beat me to the punch there. It's just, if you ask someone why is blue-green Guildmage in your deck, they would probably say theoretically for control matchups. So, you know, I have enough time to sort of do all the tricks with the counters, and I can draw a bunch of cards. And you've seen Jeremy draw a bunch of cards this game. But Revelations and so forth just outclasses that he can't afford spending too much of his mana that way because it's just too slow.
The thing you have to do against these control decks is you got to get them dead.
Yep.
You know, you don't want to play this long. I'm going to draw a bunch of cards and I'm going to try to outcard you. Nobody outcards Sphinx Revelation.
Nope.
That's not how that works.
Nope.
And realistically, no one can outcard Esper. The big thing with Esper is you're going to see Spell Rupture here. Take care of that Devour Flesh. The big thing with Esper is can it actually ever turn those cards into something useful? Obsidian coming back into play, gaining 4 because of Rock's Faithbender and draining 2.
And we've just drawn a Supreme Verdict there as backup for any weird thing that could happen here.
Anything that goes horribly wrong. And we are going to see a concession here. So Jeremy is going to lose game 2. Xavier Heron is going to win game number 2. And we're going to move on to a final game 3. So the fans of the Bug Aggro deck, we get to see a third one, which is pretty sweet. I'm excited for that. See if this deck can get off to a nice start. I mean, it got off to a pretty good start last game. Young Wolves just aren't the most efficient of beaters. Jeremy tried to get Xavier into a situation where he tried to get Jeremy into a situation where he had to cast a Supreme Verdict that was not good and was never able to get him there.
Yeah, no, he definitely, I think, may have assumed he had inevitability in that spot.
And just identified that incorrectly?
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat revisionist history, right? Because if Jeremy just jams his Seer and Xavier has a sweeper, then we're like, why didn't he hold back more? He could have definitely hedged a little bit better with his Undying Creatures, but another critical turning point in that game may have been the spot where Jeremy just decided the turn that Sorin got played to just let it stick and went directly at Xavier, and then later had to commit an additional Dreg Mangler to the board to finish off the Sorin. Also, Xavier got to chump block 2 more times because the Sorin stuck in play. The turning point might have actually been just whether or not Jeremy elected to kill the Sorin the turn it got played. Because we were kind of chuckling a little bit too when the Sorin got played. You know, like, I think you can afford to let that one go, et cetera, et cetera. Actually ended up being hugely detrimental for Jeremy that game. So that might have been the spot where a different line needed to be considered.
How do you feel about this about this deck overall, this bug aggro deck, that might start to see a little bit more play here moving forward. It's certainly unique in what it's trying to do and what it's trying to accomplish. Again, we don't know how good Zamek Guildmage is. You see the interaction. The question, of course, is the interaction actually good or not? So, what do you think about this deck overall and its strategy?
I think it's a pretty sweet strategy. I'm really surprised that there's only one copy of Simic Charm in this deck because it seems awesome. I mean, just all 3 modes seem excellent, so that's surprising to me. So there are definitely cards I would probably select differently if I were to build it myself, but the core concept seems sweet.
I know I want to see more Dust Mantles here, because we're going to see another mulligan here for Jeremy.
I think 4 Dust Mantles here is probably too many. If you're going to have the Guildmage and the Dust Mantles here, I don't think you can. It's just too much stuff to do with your mana.
Sure.
In that game, the bottleneck that Jeremy encountered there was mana. He had all sorts of cards that are theoretically good against control decks and good in control spots. He had a ton of Undying Creatures. He had a counter spell in his hand in Spell Rupture. He had Guildmage plus the ability to manipulate counters. The core premise of the deck was what it was trying to do against control was very powerful in that game, but he just did not have enough mana to do everything efficiently and just eventually got overpowered with a ton of cards up in his hands. So maybe the curve needs to be a little bit lower.
So with 6 cards you can find. Doesn't look thrilled. That's another mulligan going down to 5. Well, 5 is all I need in game 1.
Yep. And you know, Snapcaster Mage is another card in this deck that its presence is a little surprising to me because there's not that many spells, and again, the deck's bottleneck appears to be just the sum of mana to do all of its fancy stuff. So I would probably try to lower the curve a little bit. Like I said, I'm suspicious of 4 copies of Dust Mantle Seer, etc., etc. I probably want another Spell Rupture in the deck.
Actually, Spell Rupture was a card I was thinking about a little bit. I was trying to figure out, how good would Spell Rupture be in this deck, because ideally, you're this blue-green tempo deck that puts a lot of pressure on the opponent's life total, or at least some pressure. They have to cast this spell to kind of turn things around, and then you Spell Rupture it. We've seen decks like this have success in the past. I guess the question is, what are you countering that you really need to be countering? Because in most formats, the Wrath of God is uncounterable.
Sure.
Or excuse me, the Wrath of God is counterable. In this format, it's not counterable. We're going to see Jeremy lead off with an Experiment 1 here, play Heron Harbor and pass the turn back. But at the same time, you have this deck that is built on the back of making it so the Supreme Verdict is bad. So what are you hoping to counter with that card, I guess?
That's a reasonable point. Maybe just the general efficiency of it is still worth having in the deck.
Sure. Being able to say no to something is probably worth it. There's a Deathrite Shaman. Experiment 1 going to go up to 2/2. In we go. There's an Azorius Charm. That's going back up top.
Yep.
And Young Wolf going to pass the turn back. I see a Rancor and a Drag Mangler over there.
Yep.
There's a Godless Shrine going to pass the turn back. So Experiment 1 is the draw. To go in with that Rancor and the Dread Mangler. See if he's going to Rancor.
Really need a black source of mana.
Yeah. All right, there's your Rancor. So it's kind of cross your fingers time.
Oh yeah, you don't have a choice. I mean, you're on 5 cards. Your hand is what it is.
Yeah. So Young Wolf and the Deathrite Shaman come across for 4 points of damage. We'll get our life totals updated and everything for you guys in just a second. And Supreme Verdict is going to take care of these dummies. Rancor goes back to the grip. Young Wolf gets a counter. 2/2. Draw. Black Source of Mana comes into play tapped. All right. Well, Rancor
could be worse.
For 4. Yeah. So not the worst follow up. Not great, but as you said, could be worse. Ugh.
Ugh.
Can't be much worse than that. And that was, oh my goodness.
Oh,
Terminus and a Faithmender, my god. All right, there's a Drag Mangler, pass the turn back. Handful of double Rancor. She's trying. He's trying.
I have a feeling he's going to try punching for a couple more turns here.
Yeah. Terminus is a filthy animal, as we do see an Augur of Bolas here. Looks like 2 Sphinx's Revs? Yeah. There's an Isolated Chapel. There's a Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. That's going to tick up. Here comes your token. Double Rancor is good. Is it going to be good enough? Double Rancor. 7/3 Trampler. In we go. You could just see a triple block here. How do you feel about that?
What we got in hand here?
We don't know Jeremy's card, but we know that Xavier has
I think there's basically no way that I would be willing to trade the Faithmender in this spot. Maybe it's just worth it because you have Revelation, and that's also just good enough to carry the game.
Yeah, he's got a Rev. He gets the guy off the board. He's going to kill some stuff. The Rankers are going to go back to his hand, and that's just Jeremy's turn. I actually kind of like that play from Xavier. Triple blocking mixes, so that's Jeremy's turn. He does lose some resources, but again, there's a Sorin there. Augur Bolas feeling frisky. That's coming on in. Sorin's going to pop out another token to get to that Sorin inevitability that we saw the last game that Jeremy was clearly going to have a hard time with.
Obsidian, that's another good reason to just...
We don't know if he had Obsidian to start his turn, but we know he has it to finish it. And so that's going to come in, drain 2, gain 2, and we're going to shift it on out. So just a tough game for Jeremy, because he doesn't have to take that mulligan to 5. Here comes Dreadmangler. He actually has to attack Sorin, understandably so again, because this is a deck that really cannot beat Sorin's ultimate. You can't get it off the board once he gets up to 6.
Yep.
You see Ghost Council is going to come back here, drain 2, gain 2. Little hasty poos as well.
And
Tension Sphere.
Xavier just ahead on like basically every front of the game.
Yeah. Can even afford to get in with both guys, yeah. Going to come across this way in for 6 with the Ghost Council. There's a Blind Obedience. There's an Attention Sphere to take care of the Dragmangler. There, and an Exhort and a Handshake. Xavier Heron with Esper Control does beat Jeremy Stowe 2-1 in his Bug Aggro deck. A deck that we do have a deck tech for you guys with that we will play for you in just a little bit here. But kind of unfortunate for Jeremy. He does have to mulligan to 5 twice with his pretty cool deck.
Well, I feel, to be honest with you, the second game was a pretty big indictment on the deck in some respects.
Okay.
Just because of like I said, if you asked him in the abstract, how's your Esper matchup? I'm pretty sure you get an answer like, well, I have a bunch of Undying creatures, I have a couple Spell Ruptures to protect against Sphinx's Revelation and that sort of thing. It's very hard for him to Supreme Bird for value because of all my Undying creatures, but the game drags long. I have the blue-green Gill Mage, which I can do some shenanigans with to keep drawing. I have Duskmantle Seer, which is a big haymaker in the matchup. And actually, every single one of those cards showed